letting them know he had a key. In fact, they'd think he'd broken in by smashing a window. He'd take care of that when he left. But that was a job for later. He had another job to do before that, and the tools he needed were in the rucksack. Shrugging the straps from his shoulders, he set the rucksack on the settee. In the darkness, the furniture and other items in the living room were nothing more than dark, bulky shapes, but he'd been here in the daylight, and he knew the layout of the room like the back of his hand. The last time he'd been here, he'd taken photos of every square inch inside the house with a Polaroid camera and taken them home to be studied and memorized. He could walk through the house blindfolded and not bump into anything, unless the dog got in his way. Where was Bertie anyway? Bertie was the Jensen family's Jack Russell. The dog was deaf, which might explain why he hadn't come to investigate the sounds in the living room. Unzipping the rucksack, he found the bag of doggy treats and opened it. A pungent smell of beef wafted into the air. That should get the dog's attention. Sure enough, a few seconds later, the dog could be heard padding down the stairs. Bertie entered the living room, a tail wagging dark shape. He didn't bark, but his nose made a snuffling noise as it sought the origin of the beefy smell. "Hi, Bertie." He crouched down to pet the dog, scratching behind the pricked-up ears and between the dog's muscular shoulder blades. "You want some of these?" Bertie let out a short yap that was friendly rather than aggressive, but might wake a member of the family nonetheless. "Here you go." He pushed one of the treats at the dog to keep it quiet, pouring a couple more onto the carpet. "You wait here. I'll be back in a minute." Taking a small torch from the rucksack and leaving the dog in the room, he went into the kitchen. He didn't need the torch to light his way, but when he got into the kitchen, he needed it to find something specific. He clicked the light on, aiming it at the floor, and swept the beam over the tiles until it came to rest on the dog's feeding area. A metallic bowl of water sat next to an identical bowl that was currently empty. Both bowls had Bertie's name on them, along with a cartoon bone and paw print. Finding a tin of dog food in one of the cupboards, he spooned some into the food bowl and took it, and the water, back to the living room. Bertie was still eating the doggy treats, hoovering them up from the carpet with his tongue. "Come on, boy. I've got more food for you." He opened the door that he knew led to the understairs storage area. The Jensens kept their Hoover in here, as well as shoes, coats, and a dog carrier with Bertie's name on it. He placed the bowls on the floor in the storage area and poured some more treats onto the floor next to them. Bertie, tail still wagging, followed his nose and entered the understairs area. "Good boy." He closed the door, shutting the dog under the stairs. He wanted to make sure he didn't get bitten while carrying out the next part of his plan. Although Bertie was generally a friendly dog, his attitude might change when he saw his family threatened. Best to keep him locked under the stairs. Returning to the rucksack, he reached inside and pulled out the hammer wrapped in old rags. He unwrapped it carefully and placed the rags back into the bag before searching for the ropes and the tin of spray paint. Everything else he needed was already in his pockets. He switched off the torch and walked slowly to the foot of the stairs. Looking up into the darkness, he listened for any sign that his presence in the house had been detected. All he heard was someone snoring in one of the bedrooms. Setting foot on the bottom step, he grinned. It was time to do what he came here to do. Cindy Holloway looked at the clock for the third time in 5 minutes. Her shift was nearly over, and she wanted nothing more than to go home and crawl into bed next to her husband, Tim. She'd been here at the control centre for almost 7 hours, and her eyelids felt like they were made of lead. She barely had the strength to hold them open any longer. It didn't help that she'd only been back at her job for a week after taking maternity leave. After the arrival of Amy, her and Trevor's first child, sleep was a rare commodity in the Holloway household, and having to work a night shift when you were already knackered just compounded the problem. Still, only 10 minutes left. Then she could get home, close her eyes.